Hi, and welcome to our Cybersecurity Awareness Training Month video. Today, we are going to be discussing some common cyber scams that we are seeing in the current edition of the internet. And we have some guests on with us. So I'm Dave Alton. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Strategic Information Resources, and I have some of our lovely folks that work here on with me. So Justine, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Justine Balster, and I am the office manager at Syrinc. I also do dispatch, and I do some accounting as well with our team.
Great. Thanks, Jeff.
I'm Jeff. I'm a technician at Syrinc.
Cool. And Carly.
And I'm Carly, and I do our marketing and HR.
Great. So thanks for being on this with me, guys. I know it's kind of weird and silly to be recording this, but we really want to talk a little bit about some of the scams that we've been seeing come through lately, right? And mainly what we see are tolls and parking tickets coming through text and email. That one's pretty common. A lot of fake warranties are really they seem to come in all the time through email. We see a lot of too good to be true offers like, hey, get this laptop for $5. All you got to do is give me your credit card number, right? The infamous or often used tracking and FedEx and USPS kind of scams and things like that. And then any kind of fake purchase, like, oh, you bought something on your Amazon account or your PayPal account or something like that. And then I think right now, particularly, we're in election season and we're seeing a lot of political kind of different scams. But what I really wanted to find out from you guys, and it doesn't really matter who goes first here, but what are some of the kind of the scams that you guys are seeing? Maybe Justine, why don't you start?
In my personal day-to-day, I see some of the stuff that you mentioned. I have received maybe not too good to be trues, but fake Amazon emails or Apple emails saying I ordered something, and it's very clearly not something I ordered. But it kind of you see a $2,000 charge in your email, it sparks some panic, and you're tempted to just click the link and go for it. But always just make sure your account doesn't have the money charged out of it, but typically just looking at where the email's coming from. It's not typically so-and-so at gmail.com. And that's
Right.
one way I can definitely assure that was not real.
Jeff, What about you? What kind of scams are you seeing that are hitting you personally?
Well, similar to what you both have mentioned, I see that the bad guys are getting more subtle in that they send you a text or an email and it says, hey, we just got your order for XYZ at, for this amount, nothing need to do on your part. And then they put a little phone number down there. And so, you almost think, well, there's no links. Maybe I should call this phone number and find out what's going on. And of course, from there, you get infiltrated. So I feel like they're getting a little more sophisticated. They're not throwing out that urgency as much and kind of leaving it to you to maybe think, oh, you know what, maybe I better check on this. It almost seems legit. And then there was another one I received from one of the candidates for president, and it says, thank you for your $500 donation. Click here if you like to donate more. So,
Right.
Similar kind of things.
Got it. So Carly, I know you're also seeing certain scams and things like that. Is there any that jump out at you that come through text, for instance, more so than others?
Yeah. So mine might be a little specific to my situation, but I recently moved across the country. My physical mailbox has been infiltrated with car warranty opportunities.
Right.
For my unpaid car, which is paid off. So that's like a red flag, right?
Right.
And as I started looking for car insurance, for relocating, I got so many emails and texts about my car warranty, about my insurance expiring, and all of these things for companies that I had never used.
Right.
So those are the big ones that I've seen as a result of a life change, which is it's heavy. It's heavy-handed for sure.
So Justine, you talked a little bit about some of the, telltale signs that you look for, but is there anything that has slipped past maybe those like warnings and things that you go, oh man, I really have to check this one out. Like what has anything like that happened with you?
Not necessarily like with the two examples I've received. Like I've received some emails where it's like, oh, like someone's trying to access your Instagram account or your Snapchat account. And if I see that, I of course have 2FA set up on all of those accounts. I don't want to deal with my account being taken over by someone else. So I'll go in and take a look, and it'll encourage me to just change my password in the event it was real, or someone's actually trying to get into my account. Otherwise, nothing majorly has made me super investigated. If I'm like concerned, I'll check my accounts and stuff, but I'm pretty aware of what I've been purchasing, most of my stuff just gets deleted. But my parents all the time ask me, is this real? Should I look at this? And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, they'll call my sister, they'll call me. And then I'm like, look at the email. You did not just buy a $2,000 MacBook. It's from so-and-so at gmail.com. Like I said, like it's not real, but they're the ones who are going to be preyed upon.
Yeah. So you're looking at those what we in the business call indicators of compromise, right? Hey, is it really coming from the address that you're saying? You've never run into a situation where it looks like, oh, that came from the correct address, right? It came from apple.com, and yet it was still a scam. You haven't seen anything like that, right?
Yeah, no, I have. I would say maybe something smaller scale, like a $10 app being purchased, not a $2,000 MacBook, right? Like sometimes, that face password, you accidentally buy something, right? It can happen, and that will sometimes make me think, oh, did I purchase that? And I've gone in and I've looked to confirm in like my Apple purchases if it was real or not. And then I went to go look at who it was actually from. And then I was like, duh, I could have just saved myself 5 minutes. But those smaller scaled ones that aren't nearly as expensive definitely have me checking it a little bit more.
Got it. Jeff, what about you? What are some of the things you look at when you're trying to determine whether or not something is a scam or not?
The obvious things are the English. Is the English fragmented, awkward, seemingly not quite conversational or standard English? They're getting very good. They get the logos in there now, so it's very hard to just dismiss it because of the logo. But you want to look at the email address. I mean, I think that's the strongest place for me in an email is to make sure that the email address domain does match the sender's what the sender is purporting to be from.
Sure.
Again, they're getting more and more sophisticated, and I do find myself scrutinizing some longer than I ordinarily would. It used to be just delete it and move on, but occasionally there is one, especially when it's dealing with financing and stuff like that, where you're just like, wow, this really is questionable. So yeah, it's getting harder.
Yeah. Carly, what about you? Is there anything that like you're like, oh, I always look at this and that this always tells me what I need to know?
Yeah. So if there's a phone number, I'll just Google it. And like a lot of times it'll pop up and it'll be like, it's a reported scam number. I have a spam or a scam caller filter through my provider on my phone too. Right. So like I get caller ID that says a scam, scam call or spam or whatever. But like for those actual pieces of mail I received, I like just Googled the phone number because they would be associated with the business, and Reddit will report it, and then there's other like spam filter websites and stuff, and it'll be like, yeah, it's a spam number. So I'm just like, okay, throw it away.
That's genius. I mean, that's really, really smart to take that phone number and Google it, because it is oftentimes reported in the wider web, and you can very quickly tell, oh yeah, hey, this is not a real thing.
Right.
So want
and even if it's not reported as scam, a scam phone number, it might say, you know, cell number in some obscure city in the Midwest or something like that. And you're thinking, this company probably doesn't operate out of this house in the Midwest. And if they do, I don't want to deal with them.
Right, exactly. Not at all where the business is probably typically operated from. All right, well, I don't want to take too much time, but I did want to ask one last question, and that is, what kind of protections, and Justine, you hit on this a little bit, but what kind of protections do you put in place to prevent account takeovers and things like that? What do you do personally? Again, not work related, but what do you do personally to protect yourself?
Yeah, for personal life, I of course have 2FA on all bank accounts, anything important like that. One step further, I have it on all my social medias. For something as maybe silly, but streaming services, I don't have the same password for anything, and I'll have some 13-digit long password saved in a password saver, and that's what I use for my streaming service, just to have that extra layer of protection. No one's going to guess that. So that's I have really all smart. Of that. Or if 2FA is not provided through Duo, you can always opt for the mobile option, and they'll text you instead or give you a call. And so those have been put on almost all of the accounts I have that offer it. And it helps for sure.
Carly, what about you? What protections? I'm assuming you do some of the same things that Justine does, but any ones that you do that are different, maybe?
Yeah, I actually have a service. I believe it's through Experian, but it's like an identity dark web kind of protector.
Okay.
So I get sometimes weekly, but a frequent report sent to me. Hey, your email. And it's some obscure one from when I was 7, is found on the dark web. And it also is tied into credit checks. So if there's something, kind of bogus or fraudulent actually going on, I do have that security measure in place so I can be aware of it if it happens.
Oh, great. That's smart. Jeff, what about you? Do you have any protections in place that maybe haven't been mentioned?
I think the most important thing you have to protect is your main email address. I mean, as long as a password as you can tolerate writing down, 2FA, because if the bad guys get that, they've got the keys to the kingdom. Every website, every service that we interact with says, "Oh, forgot your password. We'll send you the reset email." So that to me is the most important one. And like Justine and Carly said, long passwords, never reuse the same password for anything.
Right.
I've recently decided I'm going to freeze my credit because of recent breaches that have occurred.
I did the same thing recently. It just froze my credit, so nobody can really, get credit in my name, right? They'd have to unfreeze it to be able to do that. I have one that hasn't been mentioned that is probably a good idea personally is so much of our stuff is tied to our cell phones these days, but it's really easy to social engineer a Verizon rep into giving you what's called a SIM, which is how your phone knows to talk to the cellular network. And it's really easy to con them into giving you, and then they clone what they call it cloning. They clone your phone, and now they have basically all of your text messages and things like that coming through to both phones at the same time. So it's one of those things that it's really easy to do. You just set up a PIN. It doesn't have to be even that complex. But the bad guy likely isn't going to know that PIN in any way, shape, or form. So it'll be harder to social engineer that. And the minute they add okay, what's your PIN? They're hanging up, right? The bad guy's not going to do that. The other one is, I don't know if you've done this, Jeff, but I did recently. I set up a PIN with the IRS, so people have to have that to file my tax return, right? So makes it a little bit more challenging to have somebody else do your taxes, but it's really not that big a deal, and it's a really easy way to make sure that somebody doesn't file a return in your name.
Yeah, my daughter's had one of those for 15 years because of some compromise that occurred when she was in middle school or high school. And every year when I do her taxes, I have to make sure that I found that piece of mail that's sent to her because of that. But that's a great idea. to getting the PIN set up on your cell phone, is that something you have to do with your cell phone provider?
Yeah, you just call Verizon and you say, hey, I want a PIN on my account for any changes that need to be made. So you need to know that if you want to make changes. And then to reset it, they normally will send you something physically in the mail to your address on file. And that will prevent like the bad guy from going around that and getting it a different way. But
it is easy to social engineer people because, I've had the alarm go off at my house and the guy calls in and I've forgotten the PIN or forgotten the passcode, but because I am an honest guy and so I sound honest, they'll usually let it go and I'll say, hey, oh man, I'm sorry, I forgot that, but it's all good. And they'll say, all right, sir, and let you go. So it's easier to social engineer overworked call center people than we would like to believe.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time, introducing yourselves to LinkedIn here and the wider audience and the internet in general. And you had some great tips. And again, I really appreciate the fact that you guys are really focused on your own personal security. It makes a big difference in protecting your digital life, right, for the most part. So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.